It's Water Wednesday, and every Wednesday I look at a water-themed 3D movie for no particular reason. Today is Life of Pi. Now, this is a beautiful movie. It begins with a long montage of nature shots, and indeed, this is a nature film. The nature of life, of God, and the nature of ourselves. Sounds boring, I know, yet it handles its themes like it does the 3D. It uses it to great effect without actually drawing attention to it. Take this shot of the tiger in this hallway. A good 3D moment. It shows the narrowness of that hall. It shows that there is only one choice that this tiger is going to make. But the hall is long. It's not going to happen right away. We have time to sense the danger, to feel it, to agonize over the naivety of the boy's attempt to connect with this animal. You feel the effect of the stereo, but really you do not see it. Your mind is more settled into the danger of the moment where it should be. Now, this tiger is important later, and this scene, in a way, replays itself many times over at sea. Space is very important when you're on a life raft with a hungry tiger. And what a great and scary premise that is. Now, this is natively shot 3D, and often natively shot 3D tends to be very consistent, and this leads to just forgetting it's there because the eye grows so accustomed to it. And I found in this movie these ocean shots are fantastic, but become overlooked at the point in the movie when you really start to get immersed in them. You almost have to pause the film and come back to it to realize just how well it shows the unforgiving size of the ocean. Notice also how they let the CGI graphics go outside of the frame of the scene. This is only the second time I've seen a 3D movie do this. Here it's a little more subtle and a little less noticed, but it's interesting. This movie switches aspect ratios a lot, and at one point even goes to a 4:3 to reveal the size of a whale passing underneath. A great find on this Blu-ray is they have both deleted scenes and effects reels also in stereo. Extras on a 3D disc are rare, but having them also in 3D is rarer still. And that effects reel of our character running through the shipwreck scene, and while he does that, they flip between various stages in the CGI process. And it's great to see the blue screen and then have the effects suddenly flash on. And it's great. I actually can't think of another movie that that showed that level of behind the scenes in stereo. This was my second time that I've seen this. I went to see it in 3D at the theater back in 2012 when it came out. 10 years ago now. Has it really been that long? My memories of the movie are also very jumbled. Parts I thought were brief were actually very long. Parts I thought happened right away happened much later in the film. One scene in particular that is a lot of fun in 3D is an island that is filled with these meerkats. I think that's how you say it. Meerkats or meerkats? For some reason, I thought it happened very early in the shipwreck, but no, it's much, much later. At the time, this was the scene I carried with me out of the theater. It really tickled my brain. I thought it was a great analogy for the concept of sin. Though watching today, I believe it's more than that. It's more of an analogy for drugs or perhaps alcohol or any variety of other coping mechanisms. And it's a kind analogy. With this type of analogy, coping is not failing, it's coping. And in fact, it kind of brings to mind an old radio speech by Fulton Sheen. I think it was called "A Drunk is Not a Pig." I should look that up again. Now, the shot used for the movie poster, which is a great, beautiful moment of a whale jumping, prominent in the trailer. And in 2012, my decision to see this movie was just to see that moment in stereo, which is very nice, though I think some of the lead up to it perhaps has more vivid 3D than the actual wow moment, but it still gets a wow. However, I did notice that the beauty of the moment and my expectant waiting for it obscured that it's actually a very dark moment in the film. And that speaks to one of the movie's themes, the fish, the animals, all beautiful and glorious in design, yet deadly and vicious, brutal and heartless. What is this that we stare at in wonder with compassion and mercy, only so that it may leap back and rip us apart? What does it all mean? What doesn't it mean? This movie spends its first 30 minutes explicitly talking about religion and building up our main character as a type of super universalist. Though relentless, to its credit, this film never becomes a parody of itself, though much of what is shown is difficult to imagine actually happening. It is filmed with such skill, in any particular scene, it absolutely feels real, feels possible, indeed feels likely. And I feel that is perhaps the overall theme, the message of this movie. Universal Man's father at one point retorts, isn't believing in everything the same as believing in nothing. And I felt I was watching a kind love letter to all the religions of the world. Life is trauma, and God and religions are the imaginations we use to get through it all. It is our lifeboats. And this movie is kind of patting them all on the head, saying it understands. And what's remarkable is how it manages this without coming across as condescending. A masterstroke of making a dismissal feel like a hug.